So for today's video, we're gonna get back to some Superman content. Mostly because there is a new Superman movie on the horizon, and because I'm still pretty pumped up after meeting Tyler Hoechlin at the Calgary Comic-Con. Woo! So for today's video, we're gonna talk about the first cartoon appearance of some Phantom Zone inhabitants, namely General Zod, Faora and Ursa. So, alright, let's go!
Yeah! So, we start off with mild-mannered Clark Kent ditching his parents at the Metropolis Zoo because he overheard about a tidal wave about to destroy Hawaii, where he changes into his Superman uniform completely out in the open. Huh! I thought this whole time you were trying to protect your secret identity, but, I guess not. Anywho, Superman indeed saves Hawaii by making a giant barrier on the beach. So things are good, right? Well, yes, but also things are somehow ominous. General Zod and his two friends, Faora and Ursa, have been spying on Superman from their prison dimension called the Phantom Zone. And they are not happy. For one, they're in prison, and their prison guards were blown up with planet Krypton, so they're kinda stuck in the Phantom Zone like forever. But also, it was Superman's Kryptonian father, Jor-El, that imprisoned them in the Phantom Zone, so they want revenge. Seeing as Jor-El is not around, they will take their revenge out on his son, who happens to be Superman. But how can they do that, right? Like I just said, man, they're stuck in the zone. Luckily, Faora and Ursula have made some crazy primordial goop, and telepathically, the three of them put their heads together to imagine a beast coming to life from this goop. To which it does, and to which it leaves the Phantom Zone to go to Metropolis. It leaves the Phantom Zone? How can it leave the Phantom Zone? The zone itself doesn't know that someone is imprisoned there, like the zone just exists. Also, could you leave the Phantom Zone with this beast? Like, if it had a kangaroo pouch, could you just hide in there and just, like, kind of stow away with them? Huh. Anywho, this new beast called the Hunter lands in Metropolis and is looking for Superman. This Hunter is actually pretty powerful. He can change his body's composition to any substance that he touches. Like, for example, if he touches steel, he turns into steel. Like, man, that's pretty awesome. So he starts attacking the office of the Daily Planet, where he kidnaps Lois Lane, and to where Jimmy Olsen, really can't do anything about it. So Clark Kent ditches his parents yet again to turn into Superman and tries to stop this thing. But the Hunter transforms into a diamond, which it found on Lois Lane's ring, and is now a frickin' diamond monster. The thing was strong before as is, but in diamond form, he completely beats the crap out of Superman, and then leaves after Superman is defeated. But why? His whole mission was to actually destroy Superman completely, and if you have them up against the ropes, why wouldn't you just fulfill your mission? I don't get it! But I guess the Hunter has a plan. He breaks into Lex Luthor's house to steal his stash of kryptonite. Well, yeah, I guess that'll defeat Superman. And now the Hunter transforms into, basically, Kryptonite Man to ambush Superman in Clark Kent's apartment. And oh my god, game over, right? Superman is done. What can he do against Kryptonite Man? Really, right? Nothing. Well, the only thing he can do is die. To which he actually does. Ugh. As the world mourns the death of Superman, things are actually looking not so bleak because Superman had a trick up his cape. He used a device that mimics kryptonite poisoning and essentially faked his own death. And he gave Lois Lane a device to basically wake him up after everything is all done. Which, man, You're really playing on the heartstrings of the entire world here, Superman. Like, jeez. We went through the funeral and everything. Later. So now that the Hunter believes that Superman is gone, he goes into phase 2 of his mission to build the Phantom Projector to bring Zod, Ursa, and Faora out of the Phantom Zone and into our world, which is somewhat successful until Superman shows up. Zod was able to escape, and now it's 2-on-1 against Superman, where Sup tries to play keep away with the Phantom Projector and fights against Hunter and Zod at the same time. But Hunter has now turned into High Voltage. Why wouldn't he change back into Kryptonite, you know? If it didn't exactly work the first time, it could work the second or third or fourth time. It's frickin' Kryptonite. Anyway, Superman is able to return a high voltage blast from the Hunter, which completely melts him down and destroys him completely. And with the Phantom Zone projector, Superman sends Zod back into the zone. So the day is saved! Hooray! Superman is alive. He finally gets to spend 5 minutes, with his parents before they go back to Smallville. And General Zod's plans have been thoroughly defeated. So with that is the end of this Super Tale.
Hey, you know what? Not too bad of an episode. Pretty interesting, hey? A whole bunch of twists and turns in it. Some weird twists and turns that don't kind of make a whole lot of sense. So if Zod and his friends, really need to have someone on the outside build a Phantom Zone projector, does it have to be on Earth? And do they have to involve destroying Superman in order to do that? Can't you just build a Phantom projector somewhere else on some other planet? The main objective is to get out of the Phantom Zone. Revenge is a secondary part of the mission, right? Or you send in 2 beasts, one to fight Superman and another one to build a Phantom projector. I think this is a lot easier than they're making it out to be. Still, don't get me wrong, man, it's a pretty awesome episode. And man, the Hunter in this episode, holy crap, this guy was actually pretty awesome. Constantly trying to upgrade himself by taking on different substances, right? Starting off with steel, then going to diamond, and then frickin' kryptonite? Huh? Right? He's a mind-controlled beast that was literally born yesterday. But still, pretty damn effective. Also, was the writer of this episode Nostradamus or something? There are a lot of things in this episode that are pretty much a prophecy of things to come in Superman stories, right? More specifically, the death of Superman and the return of Superman, right? This episode was released in 1988, and the death of Superman story happened 4 years later. So for one, you have some giant strong beasts that came out of nowhere and beat the crap out of Superman. In this episode, that's Hunter, but in the comics, that would have been Doomsday. This beast supposedly killed Superman, which happened in the comic and the cartoon. The world mourned the death of Superman, and then Superman defeated death to come back and to save the day. Man, some of those beats were actually pretty bang on. But still, pretty awesome episode. So if you haven't seen this episode, or even this short-lived Superman series, I would suggest you do so, because, honestly, it is pretty good. But with that, we do have some more behind-the-scenes kind of things with General Zod, with Faora and Ursa, and all that kind of stuff going on over here.
So yes, indeed, hey? General Zod! So I guess right off the bat, we should probably get this out of the way. A lot of you are probably thinking, this cartoon is not General Zod's first cartoon appearance. He first appeared in a Super Friends episode called The Evil from Krypton. And, yes and no. Conceptually, yes, but technically, no. So the character in that episode realistically is Zod, right? He's a Kryptonian criminal who was sentenced to spend his time in the Phantom Zone, and he even looks pretty much exactly like Zod from those classic Superman movies. But his name is not General Zod, His name is Z-Kree, which, realistically is a different character. He's based on Zod, but he is not Zod. So for the real General Zod, from the House of Zod, where his real name is Drew Zod, he first appeared in Adventure Comics number 283 in 1961, which is a Superboy story, and was a pretty brief appearance, really. In this story, a Kryptonese box fell out of the sky, and Superboy was asked to take a look into it, where he found recordings of the Krypton justice system, where criminals are sentenced and then placed into the Phantom Zone. Criminals including General Zod, who was sentenced to 40 years for trying to take over the planet Krypton and become its dictator. Only 40 years, hey? Huh? He even tried this takeover by making duplicates of himself. Duplicates that looked exactly like Bizarro, which is pretty fitting for Kryptonian duplicates, so yay. And that was pretty much his first brief cameo appearance. He's been showing up in comics here and there, mostly as cameos. Not really a whole lot of substantial appearances, at least for the most part. But this General Zod guy, right? Like, he wasn't always a bad guy. He was actually pretty good, as we see in World of Krypton, Volume 1, Number 1, in 1979. General Zod was the head of the new Kryptonian space program, located at the Kryptonopolis Space Center, where he was the boss of a young, brilliant scientist named Jor-El. Superman's Kryptonian father. But, unfortunately, in World of Krypton number 2, another genius scientist at the space program, Jax built a nuclear warhead and accidentally destroyed the Kryptonian moon and colony called Wegthor, and unfortunately destroyed the 500 Kryptonian inhabitants on the moon as well. This dangerous mistake led to the end of the space program and to General Zod's career. And spurred by that cancellation, General Zod was pissed and tried to take over Krypton, which is where he got sentenced to this Phantom Zone, and we seen him getting arrested in that previous adventure comic. So seeing as General Zod's former subordinate, Jor-El, discovered the Phantom Zone and sentenced General Zod, well, Zod vowed revenge on the House of El. So the interesting thing, with the Phantom Zone, General Zod and other inhabitants in there have found that they have heightened telepathic abilities, and they can basically peer into any place in the universe that they want to look into. Like if they want to follow the son of Jor-El on Earth, they can just spy on him. They also try to use their telepathic powers to convince someone on the outside to turn on the phantom projector to let them escape. Or to tell someone how to build a phantom projector, So, in that regard, yeah, this cartoon episode was actually pretty accurate to the comic books. So at that point, we are caught up with General Zod to the point of this cartoon episode. There are more things about General Zod, like the imitation General Zods or the alternate reality versions of him until his return, but we will get to those when we get to those eventually. But there are other characters who have made their first appearance as well. For example, Faora and Ursa. She made her first appearance in Action Comics number 471 in 1977. And man, she is pretty horrible. She absolutely hates men of all kind and has in fact killed 23 men by basically being a serial killer, I guess. And with that, she was sentenced to 300 years in the Phantom Zone, to where she started to follow General Zod. Which seems kinda weird, because if she hates men, why would she follow one? Well, it's mostly because they shared a common goal of busting out and destroying anyone who put them in there, or their descendants. The other companion in the Phantom Zone is Ursa. She first appeared in Superman, the motion picture, in 1978, which was more of a cameo, and she was more predominantly shown in Superman 2 in 1980. And it's actually kind of funny with this Ursa character, right? Because for the movies, Ursa is completely based on Faora. Pretty much the same character, you know, just less murderous, but still no less dangerous. So realistically, she is Faora. Not sure why they just didn't call her that in the movie, but you know, it is what it is. So this episode is kind of interesting because General Zod is hanging out with Faora and essentially a clone of Faora. But eventually, Ursa would make it into DC Comics canon, where she first appeared in Action Comics number 845 in 2007. So indeed, the first cartoon appearance of these 3 Phantom Zone inhabitants, and we shall see more of them when we do, and when we do, we'll talk about them some more. So that's pretty good. So with this, that, those, and the other things, I guess that's that. Also, if you're interested, I created my own comic book channel, 215 Comics. And currently, I have created my own cartoon series, The Adventures of the Density. And recently started a radio series featuring my newest character, Elastomorph, with more titles to come. So if you want to check it out, I'll leave a link up top here to that channel and some links at the end of the video. Yeah! Right on, and there you go. So thanks for watching the video. I hope you liked it as much as I did making it. Also, feel free to check out the source material that I featured in this video. And if you want to leave a comment on anything you may have liked or things I might have missed in this, you know, feel free to do so. Or anything else, you know, just to say hi. That's cool too. And other than that, you know, have a great day. Thanks.